From Central Indiana's #1 news source, this is Fox 59 Tonight.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Fox 59 Tonight. I'm Cameron Riddle. Thank you for finding us on the Fox 59 Now Smart TV app on your Apple device, Fire TV device, or on your Roku. And thank you for finding us on YouTube. Subscribe to our page. And if you're watching on one device, make sure you download the TV app. And if you're on the TV app, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube so you never miss a moment of what we're doing. You'll want to do that today because today's show is a follow-up of a conversation we had yesterday. We had Pike Township board member Demetrice Hicks on to explain township government, what it is that township government does. It's a layer that a lot of people don't think about because it's in between. People confuse it with their school district board or their city council board or their county council board. And Pike Township is one of those that has some prominence to its trustee's office and township level government because it still has its own fire department. And so as we talked with Demetrice Hicks yesterday, we learned more about what the department does, what the level of government does, and what it does not do. But he was also very frank and candid about some criticisms that he has toward the trustee after having been on the board now for the past 4 months. There's some things that he's learned and some things that he's not happy with. And as we got into the conversation, he was very candid about some issues that he says he is having with the Pike Township trustee. And if you watched yesterday, then you saw me say, I think we need to get the trustee in here and ask her some questions. Well, guess what? Just like that, inside of our studio tonight is the Pike Township trustee, Annette Johnson. Madam Trustee, thank you for coming on. We appreciate having you.
Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you for the opportunity to be on as well. I am excited to be here and kind of share a little bit about the role of the trustee here in Pike Township and the particular position that I have in the township and the things that we do at the trustee's office.
Well, I have to say, first of all, I know you're a big Fox 59 fan because every day when I get on Facebook, sometimes I see me on your timeline because you always take a picture of the TV and let everybody know what's happening in the city and in Pike Township. So we know you're very active, so it wasn't hard to get a hold of you. But that said, you are one of the more active trustees. You're probably, I don't think a lot of people know the name of their trustee. In Marion County, there are 9 trustees, and I only know the names of 2 of them. Explain what it is that you do as the trustee.
Well, again, such a great question. And I think it's important that individuals do know what their trustee does in their township. Again, we have 9 townships, and so you have 9 trustees. And our main job is to provide township assistance to individuals in need. That particular assistance can come in the area of food, clothing, shelter, um, mortgages, rental payments, and things of that nature. So, again, our main role is to provide assistance to our individuals that live in our township that need something in an emergency situation. So, we don't do this repeatedly, like every month you would get something, but it's really a one time assistance. We do have authority to make it more than one time, but again, it's there for an emergency situation that may have arisen.
In Marion County, the 2/3 of the county has a fire department called the Indianapolis Fire Department. In 3 townships, Decatur, Wayne, and Pike, you all still have your own fire department. That is a task that you have
Yes.
that the trustee in Lawrence Township, well, that's a bad example, the trustee in Center Township and Perry Township and Franklin Township don't.
Mhm.
You are in charge of the fire department.
Oh, yes. So we also, as the trustee, I am the overseer of the Pike Township Fire Department as well. The building that I'm housed in, which is the Pike Township Trustee's Office, also has a residency with the Small Claims Court. So Pike Township Court is also there. So again, we have our own Pike Township Government Center here in Pike Township for our residents to utilize the services that they need. And as you mentioned, I do have a fire department, and our fire department is a very large fire department, and it's one of the best in the state of Indiana.
And we've highlighted this a little bit more than a year ago for Black History Month. You have your first Black female firefighter.
Yes.
How is she doing?
She's doing good. She just finished her first full year. Very amazing young woman. Very exciting time, even when she was going through her training to become a firefighter. Just to have an African American, female.
Mm-hmm.
We do have, female firefighters
Mm-hmm.
and EMTs and things like that, but we did not have an African American female. And so she is a trailblazer.
Mm-hmm.
She is our first one. And I'm also here to share with the community that we will have a second one.
Really?
She is finishing up the class
Okay.
because right after that class, we start another class.
Okay.
I'm very adamant about providing fire classes and recruits to our
Okay.
community. I
Okay.
don't want it to sit dormant. I've been a trustee now going on my 7th year, and I can say for the 7 years that I have been the trustee, we have had 7 recruit classes. And so there will be another female African American firefighter to join Mrs. Jones. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, and I was trying to pull up a clip of her because I had it
Hmm. Oh,
handy
yes,
from
yes,
last year.
yes.
But Tatiana Jones, the young lady who's coming in now, did she see firefighter Jones and say, you know what? I think I can.
From what I've heard as far as conversations, yes. I mean, that was an inspiration to her. She was already on the pathway of this is something that she wanted to do. And I think by seeing Mrs. Jones, trailblaze through it, it just really opened up other door of opportunities for other, I think, individual African American females to say, you know what, I can do it. And so I'm very excited. She'll be out there with her. So she will have someone to join her as well.
Let's see. I think I've got a clip of her somewhere here. That
Station 64.
that
Yes.
there is a clip of you, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll find that clip here
Yep.
in just a second.
Okay.
But yeah, great things happening in the Pike
I
Township
think so.
in the
Yes.
fire department.
Very, very proud.
There you go. There's a clip of her
Yes.
from our story from
Yes.
last
Very.
year.
She's a wonderful young lady. Yes.
You
She's
can,
doing great. She is doing great. So she's housed at Station 64, which is right there at 52nd in Georgetown.
and I know you're very proud of her.
Yes.
Well, one of the other things that I know people get confused with is the Pike Township trustee
Mm-hmm.
and the schools.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you get calls all the time that people think
Oh,
that
yeah.
you are in charge of the schools.
Mm-hmm.
You are not, but I know you have a good relationship
Oh,
with the
yes.
Metropolitan School District of
Yes.
Pike Township. And that said, you have been very vocal
Oh, yes.
on schools and
Yes.
education
Mm-hmm.
and charter schools coming into your
Yes.
district.
Yes. Yes. I have a good relationship with the Superintendent Dr. Young. Yes, of course. Um, I have been in Pike since 1998. My daughter and son graduated from Pike High School. So I have really been able to see all the good things that the school district offers, our community and the kids and students that go there. Again, I just think it's important that as the trustee, I am in a position where I am the executor of the township, that relationship be solid with the superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
We just kicked off Earth Day last week. We were just right over at the admin building with Dr. Young, planting trees. I'm part of an environmental group called Resilient Pike. And so we do a lot with Dr. Young to make sure that the day-to-day things that he may need, mostly support, from the trustee's offices there. And so that's what I provide for him.
So you have been very vocal about charter schools just this week. Senate Bill 1 is passed, and now that is going to give tax dollars from the schools in your district to any charter school that opens up inside of your district.
Yes.
You've been very vocal on it. We've seen teachers just this week make a lot of noise downtown at the State House as they are trying to make sure people understand that. One, they say this budget that is not adequate. It's going to make some cuts to governments that include school districts that will continue to include the trustee's office and mayor's office and fire departments. But on the issue of schools, I want to ask you specifically about charter schools because this is going. I believe there's a charter school just outside. just outside, but the original plan was for that school to be inside
Yes.
of Pike.
Yes.
What's the state of charter schools in Pike Township?
Well, right now we have been very successful with keeping them, out of Pike Township. Again, we truly believe, or I truly believe, that the funds for education should stay within the district of Pike School District. And so we have been able to fight it off. We had a situation with Valar Charter School was trying to come into Pike Township 2 years ago, and we fought that off as well. I think with what has happened on Monday, I was downtown as well, supporting our teachers and educators from the Pike School District. We've been, dealt this particular hand. I'm sure we'll have really good conversations, focused conversations to see what we can
things when it comes to charter schools in Marion County. I've heard of more talk of schools still looking for a place in Pike Township. Are they going to continue to uh, be met with opposition and opposition from folks like yourself who are saying we don't need that inside of our boundaries? We're good with MSD Pike Township.
I would say, from my standpoint, we're good with MSD of Pike Township. I'm sure there will be opposition. Again, we will fight as long as we're able to fight, and we will do our best to make sure that the voices of the community, the constituents, is heard. It's just not a Trustee Johnson's belief. I just signed on because this is a belief of mine, and there are so many individuals that supported those endeavors. As an educator myself, I mean, that was my background before I became the trustee, and I'm still in education. I teach currently at Martin University. I'm a professor there.
Okay.
I teach over at Ivy Tech State College. I teach right this second. I have classes each semester. So I'm still in the education ring. Once you're an educator, I tell everybody it does not stop. You continue to be an educator all your life. So again, I will fight as much as needed. I like to go with the direction of what do the constituents want? What does the township residents want? What do the teachers want? I just want to be a voice for those individuals. So yes, we will fight as long as we can and as long as we're allowed to.
Let me also ask you about something that's really not controversial at all compared to the charter schools, and that's the constable. What is the relationship between the trustee and the Pike Township constable, if any?
He lives in Pike Township. I know him very well, but the constable doesn't have any relationship with the trustee's office because that's a separate entity. He is under the jurisdiction of the court. The court judge utilizes him and his services to serve warrants. That's it. That's his role, to serve warrants.
In Pike Township.
In Pike Township. And so there is no role. I mean, again, he is a officer of the law, so he is under that jurisdiction. We're very pleasant with each other. I see him in the office when he's, there doing his job. But again, he is positioned over on the court side. And again, his role is to serve, those particular papers to individuals in the community. And so that would be, I would say the bulk of it right there.
I asked that because, again, that's another level of that people hear Pike Township and they don't know all of these, the school district, the constable's office. They are serving the same boundary, but are their own municipal unit.
Exactly. Yes.
So this is something that we talked about yesterday with Demetrice Hicks as we were getting into what his role is on the board. And now, and this is completely education for me because
Mm-hmm.
this is an area that even I don't know all the ins and outs of.
Oh yeah.
Um, but explain for us eh, how the hierarchy, if that's the right word, or the chain of command, the daily operation is
Mm-hmm.
between the trustee and the township board members.
Well, again, the trustee is the executive of the township, and so she is the highest hierarchy in that particular, I would say, setup. There are board members that are elected. Think about it, a board. I serve on several boards.
Mm-hmm.
Again, my role as a board member is to advise the executive director or the individual that is the overseer of, the board.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what our elected, again, board members are. Now, they're advisory board members.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this for a fact because I was an advisory board member for 14 years
Mm-hmm.
before I became a trustee.
Mm-hmm.
I sat in the seat that these individuals are in right now. So I've had 14 years of knowledge, 14 years of learning what an advisory board member does.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, those individuals are there to advise the trustee with the budget, um, concerns that she may have. I just think, as the legislation put this together, it was put together so that there's checks and balances. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want an individual to be the overseer and they just get to run amok and do whatever they want. And
Mm-hmm.
so, again, that's why you would have an advisory board members to pretty much be there to kind of um, give some suggestions and to offer, their opinions of how things are. Now, when we started off as board members, and this was again, I was advisory board member for 14 years,
Mm-hmm.
3+ terms. It was 7 individuals. So now the um, legislation
Mm-hmm.
has felt the need that we didn't need 7 board members.
Mm-hmm.
We only needed 5. And so that's why we had the number 5. And so we have to also be careful because, again, the legislation can come back and say, you know what, we don't need 5, we only need 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, the board members are there just to be individuals to offer advice to the trustee. That is their role.
So as he explained it yesterday, he explained that yes, you are the executive, but he also said that um, he didn't quite use the words that they report to you, but said that the things that there are things that are supposed to come to their desk
No,
that you approve,
no,
or vice
not
versa.
under no circumstances. Again, there's 9 township, and so I would beg to differ. You can ask any of the other trustees to come on, and they would all be in agreement with me. Again, they are advisory board members. And I brought the definition. What is an advisory board? It's a group of individuals who offer opinions on certain aspects of community concerns or processes that that individual that is in charge does. And so we've had this conversation. I have these board members are new.
Mm-hmm.
They just got sworn in of January this year. They are very, very decent individuals. I have no issue with any of them. I know there has been talk that I ran other individuals against these particular individuals. Nobody ran anybody against anybody. Individuals came and said, you know what, I would like to run. Um, I always look at it as there's an election, there's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of that particular election cycle, you come back together and you figure it out
Mm-hmm.
and you try to work together and make sure that you're just doing the job that you have been that you have deemed to do. And so, of course, there were individuals that ran, with these other individuals. And unfortunately, we lost and you move on. So, again, the duties and I brought this state statute from, again, we are under the State Board of Accounts,
Mm-hmm.
which is the official government municipality for state government.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look these up, and it has all the codes and what a board, what the members of the board do and their role. Again, what the trustee does is um, they work for me. I don't work for them
Mm-hmm.
at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day. anything that goes out with a check, it's going to say Annette Johnson on there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a fire chief. He's over fire services. I don't go to the fire chief and tell him what to do with the fire department because that is not my field of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
My, learning field is being in this trustee position. And so the board members, I will bring information to them and along with the chief. And we both bring information to them to share of some things that are going on. We would need their signature or we would need their vote. Um, the majority of the issues with, I would say, this board is their main function, and you can look it up in the code. Their main function of a board is to approve the budget that the trustee has presented to them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do they have questions and concerns? Yes, that's what a board does. But at the end of the year, that is their one responsibility. If you look at this code, there only has to be 4 meetings a year, if
Mm-hmm.
that's what the trustee deems.
Mm-hmm.
I only have to meet with them 4 times a year by state law, state statute.
Mm-hmm.
But I have allowed more meetings because I do think it's important that they get a little more involved and learn. And so I have allowed those things to happen, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to have but 4 meetings a year. And those 4 meetings are the discussion of the business that are given quarterly. Think about it. There's 12 months, in a
Mm-hmm.
year.
Mm-hmm.
So every 4 months you would meet with those particular board members to share the things that I have brought to, out into the open or that the chief may have.
So I'm glad that you're explaining all of this. And again, I respect the
Hmm.
decade plus that you had on the board, and
Yes.
I know Demetrice has been in there for 4 months and is still learning things. But let me play some of what he said yesterday, because as we got into how the dynamics work,
Hmm.
um, one of his things that he says that they've been asking for is workspace and office space and email or a phone number so they can get in touch with folks who are trying to get in touch with them. Let me play some of what he said and get you to respond. Um, because essentially he says, not essentially, he flat out says
Hmm.
he's asking you for things and you're telling him no. This is what he said yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, we don't. I know how strange that sounds, but yeah, we don't have emails, official government emails, or official uh, phone numbers to operate and communicate with stakeholders, department heads, or even constituents in our official capacity. And that's been very problematic for us.
And so is that hence the point of doing a community fair, because you can't get in touch with your people as it is?
Well, yes and no. The community fair is something that we were always going to do. We ran on being transparent and engaging the community. So that was something we were always going to do. It does take an additional layer since we're not able to obtain current emails and phone numbers or office hours from the current trustee. So that's kind of where we are. I'm hoping we can kind of resolve that either later this month at our board meeting on the 22nd, April 22nd. And support us. And unfortunately, being a access points and access.
Okay,
Mhm.
so a lot there, and
Yeah.
like I said, he was very direct
Mhm.
with saying that he's asking you for something and you're not giving it. And we'll talk about the community fair that was mentioned
Mhm.
in a moment. But um, your response to that?
Well, I mean, he is entitled to his opinion. Again, there's 9 townships. It's not something that is necessarily needed for advisory board members. Again, they're advisory board members. Again, I serve on numerous boards. I don't have any email that's tied to, let me give you an example. I'm on a board of Faber Card at Crooked Creek. I don't have an email tied to that. I serve on the Martin Center Sickle Cell Board. I don't have an email tied to that as well. It's really at the pleasurement of that particular trustee. And he did mention Wayne Township. I know him very well. We talk quite often. He does. He did allow his particular board members to have an email, but that's what he wanted to do.
Hmm.
There's no code that says that I have to. We have a elite fire department. It's a budget issue. We think that would just be extra spending that's not necessary. They're more than welcome to get a domain or a email. They could just say one of the board members did that. Ashley Hogue is on the board. She did go out and get an email that says A, whatever her name, first initial, last name, at pike.com.
Hmm.
She just did it on her own. You are more than welcome to do that. So you don't need to go through the trustee's office or for me to get you an email.
Hmm.
Um, again, I think he has the role of the advisory board mixed up. He is not a legislator. Um, State Senator J.D. Ford. He meets with his constituents all the time in the township. He meets at um, Starbucks, at the libraries. There are other entities for our board members to have a chance or opportunity. Again, they are advising the trustee. I think they're taking their content of their role out of context.
Hmm.
Again, you're not to me, that's disrespectful to our state legislators that are in those roles, or our city councilors that are in the role. We don't have any office space to allow them. The government center is set up as it is. It's the small claim court. There are no rooms. Trustee's office. There are no offices. Those particular rooms and offices are individuals, employees that work, at the trustee's office. There are no extra rooms at the fire headquarters. We just don't have that space, and it's not necessary. Any questions or concerns should be directed to the trustee's office. If
Hmm.
you're a board member, you care about your community and your constituents, and they have a question about maybe a service or a resource. The polite thing to do is to contact our trustee Annette Johnson
Hmm.
and give them that number that you have, and you know the address of the trust. I have employees that work on those particular issues and areas for our constituents and our residents. They're called caseworkers. So those individuals would be the individuals that would work in that capacity, not a board member. Again, a board member role is to advise the trustee. Um, when the trustee and the fire chief bring information, look it over, make sure checks and balances, and we go from there. To me, it's just like again, I was on the township board. We
Hmm.
never had an email. I was on there 14 years.
Hmm.
We had no emails. We had no access to where you were able to get to the building
Hmm.
because, again, the previous trustee, and she was in that position for 16 years, she didn't deem it necessary.
Hmm.
What would they need that for?
So I'll ask you kind of the same line of questioning I asked him because I was like, why would people not uh,
Exactly.
before you have an email?
We never, I mean, again, it's just not necessary. They're not in a function of legislating anything. They're
Hmm.
not in the function of passing any ordinances or anything.
Hmm.
Again, that is the role of the city councilors that represent our district. And so if they have an issue, again, they would refer that individual to your city councilor.
Hmm.
We have 3 that represent Pike Township,
Hmm.
and we have several legislators that represent. You have State Representative Cherish Pryor, State Senator Greg Taylor, State Senator Fatty Cador, State Senator J.D. Ford. All those individuals are in those positions to do what Mr. Hicks is asking or what he feels is necessary. Again, I just think he's taken everything out of context. The good thing for me is I go by the State Board of Accounts, which is the overseer of all 9 trustees.
Mhm.
As long as I'm following the codes
Mhm.
and I'm doing what's within those codes, that's all I worry about, and that's how I work the trustee's office every day, and that's how I deal with the board members. Of course, they can ask for emails and space.
Mhm.
I'm going to keep going back to it. If there is a constituent that has a question, then they will call the trustee's office.
Mhm. Your
And
point is, what do you need it for? You don't need it, is what
you
you're saying.
don't need it because there is nothing that we have employees. That is not your role as a board member. So I would say that again. That is not your role as a board member.
And as I asked him yesterday, I said, is it fair to compare the trustee to the mayor and the board members to city county councilors? He says yes. You say,
No, because again, that's why you started this um, out earlier. You
hmm
said there is certain levels.
hmm
Again, there's certain levels.
hmm
A township board is just again advising issues and things with the trustee with the budget.
hmm
They have nothing to do with the fire department or come in and say we want this or we want that. That's why you have the fire chief in that
hmm
particular position. The city council would handle that. State legislation or state senators would handle that. I think that would be, to me, that's rude and disrespectful when you have those individuals in those positions, and
hmm
that is their roles.
So there's also one of the things we talked about yesterday with board member Hicks, Demetrice Hicks, was this upcoming community fair on May 3rd. And you see he's got a number of people there. State Representative
Mm-hmm.
Cherish Pryor, who you've mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
J.D. Ford, the prosecutor Ryan Mears, the recorder Faith Kimbrough, and the constable Art Raleigh Jr. And this is on Facebook, where I
Mm-hmm.
have already seen
Oh yeah,
the
me too. Yeah,
yes, I know you've seen the
it
comments
stirred a lot of calls and comments.
because the person who is missing from this flyer
Exactly.
is you, the trustee. Let's talk about that because one, he says, well, we make calls to invite the
No
trustee
one
to
has ever
said event,
called me. Never.
and he said you didn't return his call.
And that is just and I'm gonna say it for what it is. He has not called me. I have nothing on my phone, nothing from our office. And if he did, when did he do it? And I would not, ignore a board member. At the end of the day, you still have to be pleasant with them. I consider myself a very spiritual person and try to treat people in the right manner. But that is false information. I've not heard anything from him at all.
So the issue with this flyer in this event, I guess is, will you tell me what's the issue? Because I've seen
Um,
different views on it on Facebook.
I think, I guess number one is like you just said. I wasn't notified of it. I think it's a great um, thing that should be done. Of course, you can have a community update and resource. Um, but I think the person that is offering the resources in the community should be the main one there.
hmm
Because at the end of the day, um, if we're talking about resources for our community, the trustee should be there.
hmm
She's the one that's providing resources. Again, it may come in the form of rental or mortgages. It may be food. It may be temporary shelter. It may be school uniforms. It may be coming to get food out of the food pantry. I have a mother baby room. So
hmm
we have so many resources. And if we are not able to provide, we have partnerships with individuals
hmm
that provide other extra or padded things that people may need as well. So I think it's disrespectful, and I think it's distasteful to have something. Now, the individuals that are on there, I'm just saying me, if
hmm
I was on a flyer and I didn't see the main person, I would call and ask, what's going on? I haven't heard from any of these individuals.
Well, and I guess part of the issue is it says hosted by Pike Township officials. And as you said, you are the executive official of
Exactly.
Pike Township. And
Mm-hmm.
so I guess is it a concern from you that, okay, you have this event on Saturday, May 3rd, talking about what these resources are. And then on Monday, what
That is,
happens?
then on Monday, we will get all of these calls to my office, and my caseworkers and community outreach coordinator will not know how to respond. They will say, "Well, what are you talking about? We knew nothing about this." I just don't think they should be out giving out information where there are employees that work for the township that should be offering that information.
Mm-hmm.
That again, that is not their role
Mm-hmm.
as an advisory board member. That is not their role. I don't know how many times I can say it plain.
Mm-hmm.
That is not their role. And for them to do this, and you bring it up. It when they were elected, I offered this the role of the township board.
Mm-hmm.
I offered training because again, you're correct. They've only been in office a little over 4 months
Mm-hmm.
because we can't even count January.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 months. If I was on the board for 14 years and I have learned a lot, I don't think somebody coming in with 3 months under their belt would know how to host or should be out in the community doing those type of community resource events. Again, we could do it as a partners because again, I would have my um, community outreach person there. She would be able to take the names and have lists of information. I would have one of my caseworkers there because again, there's an application process if they do need help. The township board members know nothing about that. Again, that is not their role and that is not their positions. That's why we have hired employees. That's what they do every day on a daily basis.
Is there still time that you guys could collaborate on something, or would you want them to cancel the event?
I don't think canceling an event, anytime you're able to offer some type of resources, I'm all about serving the community. That's what it's about. But I want us to do it together, not in silos or pockets over. And a lot of times, like you said, there has been a really, I would say, rough relationship with Mr. Hicks.
Mm-hmm.
You try to talk to individuals, and I heard him say innovative ideals. He cannot have innovative ideals if it's not part of the State Board of Accounts.
Mm-hmm.
If he has innovative ideals, then he should go downtown to the legislation, which is what he should do, and stop calling himself a legislator
Mm-hmm.
and ask them to change some of the um, things within the codes that they have given the township trustee
Mm-hmm.
role and what they have given the role of the advisory board. That's who you go to make changes with. You don't just make the changes because you think, oh, I do have some ideas and I want to do that. But there's a chain of command.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I get my directives from the State Board of Accounts, I'm following the code. And so a lot of the things that Mr. Hicks has asked me, he says I don't answer him. I have answered him. It's just not the answer that he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do as the trustee, I'm not breaking any laws, I'm not breaking any codes, and I'm not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize my position because of an innovative thought that he has.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how you run a trustee's office, and that's not how you run a fire department.
I would assume that the board position is a 4-year position.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We're only 4 months in. How do we make? How will you guys work together? I mean, and again, like you said, you only had to see him 3-4 times a year. Um, to From what I'm hearing from you is, hey, you're an advisor, and if when I come, the fire chief brings me what he needs in his budget, I bring the budget as a trustee to the board to, hey, look over this. This is what I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
just so there's extra eyes on it.
Mm-hmm.
So from an advisory standpoint, it's really somebody making sure the math is right and you haven't, made a mistake. But it's not
Exactly.
for them, as you're saying, it's not for them to approve and say, no, I don't think that's how we should spend the money.
Well, they do have their approval at the end.
Okay.
So, but you have to keep in mind, if they don't approve a budget, then downtown will approve it at the State House.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say, oh, there's some issues. And I've never seen that it happen with any township boards. None in
Well-
my 14 years. Again, their role would be for me to bring a budget, which me and the chief will do,
Mhm.
around October of this year, September, October. We start talking about the budget. Hopefully they look it over and they pass it. Again, if they don't pass it, it's going to be fine. Then governor will pass it.
Mm-hmm.
He will look it over and say fine, or he may say it's not fine. A budget's going to get passed either way because that's how government works. You have to have a budget. So if they decide not to pass what me and the chief present to them, you just take it to the next level and let someone else be the eyes and ears, and they will pass it.
Well, I've heard, and I don't know if it was this year or last year, there was a bill to try and dissolve some of the township government stuff. Is this something that you fear that, hey, look, if you guys, this has been something that's gone smoothly, like nobody knows about township government because of how smoothly
Exactly.
it goes.
Yes. It opens up another can of worms.
Okay.
And I think I kind of alluded to that already. It started off as 7 board members, then it went down to 5. And so they have to be very careful because if there's infighting and they feel like because at the end of the day, the trustee's still going to be there. Fire chief's going to be there. Board members don't have to be there. They don't have to be there.
Is that a paid position to be an advisor?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. And it's each township, the pay is different. Everyone has some are at a high end, some are at a medium end. Fair to say we're at a medium end. We're pretty much across the board with other township trustees. And then there are some that's a little lower, like they make less than what my township board members make. I know I was on the board again for 14 years. I made the same amount for 14 years. I can brag on that. This new board that has, came in as the trustee, going on my 7th year, I did allow their pay to go up.
Okay.
Because again, I was a witness. Like, I get what you're saying. You want a little more. And I said, I was in that role for 14 years and I didn't ever get a raise. I made that same amount for 14 years and I didn't complain and I didn't go around backstabbing and, making up things about individuals. I thought of it as a role where I'm a community servant. I'm serving the community. I'm being the eyes and ears for the community so that individuals could kind of, I'm doing the right thing for the township. I've changed so much stuff, Cameron. We never had a website. I changed, I put together a website. Our board members are listed on the website with their information, their emails, their phone numbers if someone wants to get in touch with them. I made it a point to make sure all of the township board meetings, agendas, the budget, everything is out for the public to go to. Very transparent. Because if I don't put the budget up, they can go online and look it up. So it just make no sense not to do that. My point is, as the trustee,
and there's your website there.
I put all this information out there. I have all community information, what we do, office hours. I put together an updated pamphlet, brochure that goes out amongst our community. It has our board members listed on it. It has the duties of the trustee and all that on there. And our partnerships, what we provide. I have the chief on here as well. And so also what they don't understand is, and a lot of people don't know, I also have a merit board. I have 5 members of the individuals from the community that serve on the merit board. Again, the way township government was put together is so that we had checks and balances. Again, the advisory board is there to kind of be the checks and balances for the fire department and the trustee, along with the court. And then the merit board is put in place to be the checks and balances for the firefighters. They're the voice for the firefighters. They have issues or union issues and things like that. And so this particular board, again, has 5 individuals. They're not elected. They're appointed by me and the chief and other individuals in the community. And they have been on this board forever. Some new. Again, they represent each district in Pike. And they work together wonderfully.
So this is what I believe that you've written on the website. It says the township board advises the township trustee concerning matters pertaining to the civil township. They examine and approve in whole or in part the annual report of the township trustee and keep record of all business transacted at all meetings. They also make appropriations and establish a tax rate and levies for the ensuing year. Additionally, they make emergency appropriations as the need or emergency arises. Finally, they set the salaries, wages, rates of hourly pay, remuneration other than statutory allowances of all officers and employees of the township, except the assessor and his deputies and employees.
And all of that comes from, again, the State Board of Accounts. When
Mhm.
it says they set the appropriation, all of that's going to come from State Board Accounts. And then it's going to trickle down to the board members. So it's not like they're setting anything. It's whatever the governor deems for us.
Mhm.
And we get that every year and we look it over. So it's not like we're sitting in a boardroom and we're going over it. State Board of Accounts has already done all these things.
So they're
for us.
not creating, they're not
Now,
drafting.
that's it. State Board of Accounts crafts and does all these things for us. And then it's given to me and the chief, and then we therefore give it to the township board members to look it over as well. That's why I said if they don't pass a budget or they don't do anything, State Board of Accounts is going to step in and do all that.
Mhm.
They'll do the work for us.
Mhm.
It's just that, again, we would love to have individuals that represent their communities to be the voice and the eyes and ears of that.
Well, there's that.
Mhm.
What happens now? I mean, after this, I mean, you've got this event coming up. We're 4 months in, and clearly there are some disagreements on how the
Mhm.
board and the trustee work together. And what would you call for now? Because as you've showed us, hey, this
Mhm.
is I did this job for 14 years. This is how the job is done. Here's the literal handbook.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my goal is to continue to do the outstanding work. Um, I was nominated in 2022 for Township Trustee of the Year out of 1,005 trustees for the state of Indiana. I don't think I would get that award to be a Trustee of the Year and represent our little old township
Hmm.
if I wasn't doing the right thing. And what I want the audience and the listeners to understand too. They check every month with the township
Hmm.
trustee.
Hmm.
I am audited every year. I have not been in the news because I'm doing everything again by the code and the statute and the books that
Hmm.
we're supposed to do. Again, I don't think I would be, trustee of the year out of 1,005 trustees for this whole state.
Hmm.
They saw the good things that, Trustee Johnson did when she became a trustee. She revamped township government to look a little different, like I said. And that might be why I'm where I am because I've done too much. I've been a little bit too transparent.
Hmm.
You know, you can go to other township trustees, they don't have websites,
Hmm.
they don't have newsletters, they don't have um, pamphlets and brochures. They just do the work every day, and that's it. But I wanted to be a trustee that put information out in the community. Now everybody knows who the trustee. They know the trustee in Pike, and
Hmm.
I get this all the time. I never knew we had a trustee.
Hmm.
Didn't know anything about that.
Hmm.
Do community events. I'm out in the community. I partnership with just about every organization that there is, and so I think sometimes when you do too much, it can get you in trouble. But I wanted again to be the community servant that I think and that I know that our residents and constituents deserve in Pike Township.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes.
Uh, Trustee, we're just about out of time.
Mm-hmm.
How, if people do need you, they do need your assistance, rental assistance,
Mm-hmm.
information, looking for jobs, want to get on the fire department.
Oh yeah.
How can people get in touch with you?
Again, our office is located at 5665 North Lafayette Road, Township, Pike Township Government Center. It's been there forever. Again, located at 56 and Lafayette Road. Our office number is 317-291-5801. We have staff. I have caseworkers. I have a community outreach coordinator. I have office manager, staff, and also our, I would say, financial advisor. She's in that office as well. Again, what I want the community to know is I work alongside the fire department. We are a partner in this because, again, we want to bring the best services that we can to the township. And so, again, we're there Monday through Friday, anywhere from 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Again, I've made it very easy. A lot of times you don't have to come into the office because a lot of times our clients don't have transportation.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I'm not on a bus route,
Hmm.
and that's a concern for me. It's been a concern for years, and I have brought that issue up so many times, but only to be told that, no bus service. We're
Hmm.
not going that far. So we have the application process is online. You can do everything online. Upload your documents, scan your documents. You don't even have to come into the office to work, to get services that you need. Of course, if you're needing food and baby items or things for the mother and uniforms and things like that, you do have to come into the office. But for the most part, for
Just to get started.
yeah, just to get started. But if you're needing rental assistance and mortgage payments, those types of things can be done in application process, because we do allow you to upload your documents to the portal that we have.
Well, Trustee Johnson, there's only like I said, 2 trustees in all of Marion County. There's 9. I only know the names of you and LaDonna Freeman in Center
Yeah.
Township,
Mm-hmm.
and I think most people are probably the same way. So, with all that said, thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And again, I will move on and I will do the best work that I can. I will never do anything to jeopardize my position. I would never do anything that is out of the realm of the law. Again, long as I follow the codes and do what is deemed necessary for the township office, that's what I will do. If I don't feel that it's necessary and there is it would be different if all 9 townships was on the same page. Then of course we will follow. But since all 9 of us are not, we do what it works for each township, and that's what I really want to share with each people. We do what is deemed necessary. We don't have a flat where everyone has this or has that. It's what works for that particular township. So I'm going to continue on that pathway.
And so on the email issue, the answer is no, because you don't need one, and it's a cost that wouldn't be worth.
It's a cost, and it's also more of a I would say barrier for hackers. We have a fire department, and we don't need to open up the window to have
more doors.
Yes, for other hackers to come in and breach of security measures.
And I did ask him about that, and I said, "Are we sending? Is your concern about sending sensitive information to your Yahoo email?"
Yes.
He said that is a concern of his, that he would be getting.
Well, he can do what our one board member, Ms. Hogue, did. She just has one email that she, signed up for, and it says A Hogue at Pike. She did her own domain. He's more than welcome to do that. That way, he doesn't have to use. I'm sure I'm talking to so many people out here who has just one email address.
Right.
Now, come on now. He's just, that's a little far fetched. These are things he can provide. Business cards. Again, he can do all that on his own. He gets a salary from me. So utilize the nice salary that he gets, because it's a nice one.
Salary.
It's a nice one every year for the few meetings that they come to, and spend $100 and buy some business cards. Seriously.
All right. Trustee Annette Johnson, thank you so much for coming on. Well, I think we can talk about this for quite a while.
Yeah.
But again, I do appreciate everything that you guys do in the trustee's office, because it is a lot.
We will continue the work. Thank you.
All right. And we'll make sure you can find out how to find the Pike Township trustee, Annette Johnson. Just Google it and you will find the website that we showed you. All right. That's going to do it for this edition.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. That's going to do it for this edition of Fox 59 Tonight. If you want more conversations like this, make sure you subscribe and download the Fox 59 Smart TV app. And then on Sunday, if you want to call in and join the conversation, we will be on the radio with my show, Open Lines, where we will talk about all of the news of the week and join you with the conversation on our live line. That's Open Lines on 106.7 WTLC and Hot 100.9. For now, I'm Cameron Riddle. Fox 59 News at 10 and 11 coming up here on the app, and we are back same time tomorrow at 8. Good night.